This video will go over some basic procedures for the lab. Jenny, what is happening in lab today?
Well, Sophie, today we'll be measuring the mass and volume of an unknown metal to determine its identity.
How does measuring mass and volume help us do that?
If you take mass divided by volume, it gives you density. And density is unique to specific substances. You know, like how oil is less dense than water.
Oh, so difference in density is the reason oil always floats on water?
Yes, Sophie. And you could read more about density in the lecture text. The lab instructor will assign your group either unknown A, B, or C.
We will use unknown A, Jenny. First, you measure the mass.
You will measure out 4 samples of the same unknown. This will help increase the accuracy of our findings.
Table 3 in the lab manual gives you the approximate mass for each of the 4 samples. You don't have to try to get the mass to be the exact number listed as long as it's within 0.5 grams.
When using the digital balance, be sure to zero it out first. It should read 0.000 grams before you add any sample to it.
Remember, you can always remove sample from the weigh boat if you add too much, but never return the chemical to its stock container.
Just remove it to a different weigh boat and use that when you get your next sample. At the end, empty any extra into the waste container.
Watch the How to Use a Digital Balance video for more detailed instructions.
Notice that the masses aren't exactly as listed on Table 3, but they are close, and we recorded all decimal places shown by the digital balance.
Now that you have the mass, you need to measure volume to calculate density. We will measure volume by water displacement.
If you have unknown A or C, you will use a 10 milliliter graduated cylinder. If you have unknown B, you will use a 25 milliliter graduated cylinder. So, we will use the 10 milliliter graduated cylinder.
You start with an initial amount of water in the graduated cylinder. When the metal is added, the volume of water should rise. Jenny, can you add about 5 milliliters deionized water to the graduated cylinder?
Now, you determine the initial volume by looking eye level at the bottom of the meniscus and not the sides.
When you record it on your data sheet, you will need to estimate the volume to the 10th place. Watch How to Read Graduated Glassware video for more detailed instructions.
It has 5 milliliters, so I will record 5.0 milliliters.
Any time in lab that your measurement is an integer, you will record the decimals as zeros. For example, 10 grams would be 10.000 grams.
Now add sample 1 to the graduated cylinder.
Be sure the water doesn't splash out when you add the metal.
Using the same method as before, determine the final volume. It has 6.2 milliliters.
Jenny, are we done with this sample now?
No, Sophie. We will measure the volume of sample 1 2 more times. Averaging the volumes will give you more accurate data. Use a paper towel to catch the sample as you empty the cylinder in the sink. Be sure to get all of the metal from sample 1. Don't let any go down the drain.
All the samples in the paper towel and ready for the next volume measurement.
When you have taken all your measurements, return the samples to the labeled waste containers on the cart.
Open the laptop and select the current 111 tab.
Enter your data in the left column and it will show up on the graph to the right.
Mass will be on the y-axis and volume on the x. Graphs should always take up the entire screen. See your lab instructor if you need help.
This graph is used to get your density. Compare it to the densities from Table 2 in Lab Manual to figure out the identity of an unknown metal sample.
If your value is between 2 metals, pick the one that's closest.
For more general information about lab, watch the first day of lab video.
And remember to take the pre-lab quiz. Be on time and bring your completed pre-lab assignment to be allowed in lab.
And be dressed in appropriate lab gear.
Have a good lab.